Editor at National Review, a former assistant U.S. attorney for the Southern District of New York, one of the most eloquent writers on law and justice there is. Andy, thanks very much for coming on. So assess these charges, if you would, as someone who has brought charges within the context of the broader investigation. Do these charges bring us closer as Americans to understanding how our democracy was hacked in 2016?
No. I think the takeaway, Tucker, with due respect to Mr. Stone, and this is obviously of immense importance to him, to the country, it seems to me that this set of charges underscores what seems to have been obvious for over a year, and that is that there never was a conspiracy between the Trump campaign and the Kremlin to commit espionage. It seems to me that that is something that's been obvious to investigators for a very long time. And this latest set of charges indicates that they not only were not in cahoots with Russia, they didn't actually know what WikiLeaks had. Right. So, as you pointed out in your interview with Stone, there's no charge in the indictment that Stone, who's facing 7 felony charges, was in any kind of a criminal conspiracy with WikiLeaks. All this is about is the process of investigating the so-called Trump-Russia conspiracy, which it seems to me not only didn't exist, but they've long known that it didn't exist.
I'm fixated on the CNN tape of this raid on Stone's house this morning because I think, like a lot of people, I looked at that and I thought, this is not at all the country that I grew up in or want to live in. If a prosecutor says we go to the house of a 66-year-old man who we know doesn't have a passport or a gun, who lives with his older wife who's deaf and their dogs and cats, and we need 27 armed federal agents, each with a sidearm and an AR-15, is there anybody who says, you know what, that's just wrong, that's overkill, we don't need to do this, it's actually dangerous? Why are we doing this? Why wouldn't anyone push back against that idea?
Yeah, I don't know, Tucker, because this is not the first time this has happened in this investigation. When Paul Manafort, when there was a raid on his home in Virginia, it was on the night between 2 days when he was cooperating with 2 different congressional committees, and it was under circumstances where the special counsel's office knew his very well-respected lawyers in Washington and could easily have called up the lawyer and said, here's a subpoena, these are the items we want. There was certainly no reason to do it the way they did it. And here, today, what happened here seems to me to be complete overkill, to take somebody who is at best what you would think of as a white-collar criminal, if he's actually guilty of the charges, who's committed process crimes, and treat him like he was a mafia don or Osama bin Laden, to me just seems to be crazy. And the proof is in the pudding. If you really think this guy is either a danger to the agents who are conducting the search or a risk of flight, one thing you don't do is agree to let him out on his signature to a $250,000 bail bond. I mean, he either is this evil guy or he's not.
It kind of reveals the motive, doesn't it? And finally, there's been a lot of debate today about how a CNN producer with a camera wound up at the scene at 5-something in the morning. CNN has an explanation for it. I don't know if it's true or not. Is it plausible in your mind that a prosecutor in this investigation would tip off a news organization? I mean, if you're going to conduct a raid like this, presumably you're doing it for shock and awe. Would it be so strange to let a news organization, a sympathetic one, know?
I don't think it would be strange to do that, particularly under circumstances where it looks like there was a lot of orchestrating the media response here. As I understand it, the raid began at 6 o'clock. The press release was issued at 6:17, I think Catherine Herridge said, this morning. So that obviously is suspicious. I'm also aware of investigations where, for example, the media finds out that there's some leak in the investigation. The media finds out there's going to be a raid, and the government makes a deal that they can be on the scene as long as they don't leak the fact of the raid so that people get a chance to escape. So until we know all the facts, I wouldn't jump to conclusions.
No,
but
I'm
it's
not.
very suspicious.
I'm not. But what you're describing is its own form of collusion, I would note, if true. Andy McCarthy, thank you very much.
Collusion's a very loose term there, Tucker.
It is a loose term, and it's a common phenomenon here in Washington, I can tell you. Thank you very much. Chris Hahn, also from New York, radio host, former staffer for Senator Chuck Schumer. He joins us tonight. So, Chris, it's a pretty simple question. Why wouldn't the Mueller investigation just call up Grant Smith, who's the lawyer for Roger Stone, and say, we're going to indict you and meet us downtown and surrender?
I agree. I have talked to you about this before. I don't like the militarization of our police force, and I think wherever possible, we should treat people like innocent until proven guilty. So I don't like the big show of force. I don't know what those reasons are. I'm not going to second guess law enforcement. I know that Roger Stone was asking a witness to do a Frank Pentangeli, which, Frank Pentangeli not only lied to Congress, he then went and killed himself, if you watch the Godfather movies. So I think that's a big problem. But I don't think that this was necessary.
It's a problem because a theatrical character from the 70s in a movie killed himself. I don't actually see the connection to the criminal case unfolding before us, but I wonder...
Roger Stone, but he did tell somebody to do that exact thing. So that's part of the reason why he was indicted today.
Okay, so we have charges, some of which sound kind of plausible to me. Others don't seem plausible. I don't know. They're charges. They haven't been proved.
Right.
But even if every one of them is true, I'm standing back and thinking, yeah, it's bad. I'm against lying. I rail against it every night. What does this have to do with the Mueller investigation and Russia and protecting American democracy from a foreign threat? What does this have to do with the corruption of the 2006 election? What does that have to do with anything other than hurting a guy who can't fight back, honestly?
Lying and obstructing of justice and witness tampering. And there's a clear connection in this indictment to the Trump campaign. We have to find out who directed the senior campaign official to direct Roger Stone to speak with WikiLeaks to get these emails.
Hold on, may I ask? No, because I think you might be breaking news here. Would it be a crime for a campaign official to say, hey, get me some dirt on my opponent? I don't think that's ever happened in a presidential campaign, but you're saying that if it did in this one, that's a crime? Tell me why that's a crime. What law does it violate?
Well, WikiLeaks has been identified by our current Secretary of State as a hostile foreign actor. They were working with the Russians during the 2016 election to influence our election here in the United States.
But that's not the question.
Wittingly or unwittingly working with the Russians to interfere in our elections is a problem.
The views of our current Secretary of State on WikiLeaks, immaterial to me, speaking for myself. Maybe the Russians were involved. Maybe they weren't. We don't actually. Okay, but I'm not here to defend, his views. Russians may have been involved. Maybe not. We don't know. Actually, no one's proved that.
We don't.
But where's the crime?
We'll find out.
But where's the crime part? Where's the part where it's illegal for someone who works for a campaign to ask for dirt? To say, I don't know, commission a foreign intelligence agency to gather a dossier from Kremlin sources. Oh, wait, that was the Hillary campaign. That's not a crime. But then neither is this.
If it's no crime, why is Roger Stone talking to his associates like a mob boss, telling them to lie to Congress?
Well,
and
actually,
cover
I just asked him that question.
I just asked him that
question. Why would you lie about that? That was my question to him.
I'm wondering why Roger would do that. Now Roger's rules, which he tells all of his clients, including Donald Trump, is admit nothing, deny everything, and do a counterattack. And he just did that on your show a few minutes ago, which is his strategy when there's a scandal.
Look, here's my mandate, is to try and strip away all the stuff and get to the core questions that we should really kind of settle. And the core question in this case is it a crime for an unnamed or a named or any campaign official to ask someone in his orbit to gather dirt on his opponent? And my impression, as someone who's covered politics for 28 years, is that that's not only not a crime, it is the standard in every campaign. So I'm sort of missing this.
I hear you. You're not incorrect. You're not incorrect. Where I think it becomes a crime is when the person you are asking for that material on is committing a crime to get that material.
What was the crime
and that person happens to be working for a foreign government.
But
well, they were hacking. That's a crime.
But hold on. And why wasn't... Wait, hold on. Wait a second. The guy just got indicted 7 felony charges today. Among them was not any kind of crime related to his dealings with Julian Assange or the Russians or Vladimir Putin or the Latvian bloggers or whatever part of your fever dream you're talking about. I mean, like, what crime are you talking about?
I don't wish ill will on anybody.
No, but what would be the crime?
Right.
Okay, I guess I've been asking this for 2 years. And I've never gotten an answer.
He was charged with lying and obstruction of justice and witness tampering, not just lying. So let's be clear here. Now, look, the special counsel is still building a case, and if people are going to lie to the special counsel and obstruct justice, the special counsel has to take action to have people avoid
Stone of a crime for which he was not even accused or charged anyway by the prosecutors in an extensive indictment. That was not one of the crimes.
He was charged with
you
obstructing
believe
of justice and witness tampering.
Right. All right.
No, look, I'm going to wait and see what the evidence bears. I don't wish anybody ill will.
We'll still be
I believe
waiting to see several years from now.
But Roger
I'll probably be in
Stone
prison
has
by
cast
then.
a lot of scandals in his life. So
yeah.
we'll see.
Well, then he's guilty then. People with scandalous past are guilty. We know that. This is not McCarthyism. No, it's very different. Chris, thank you very much.
Look, Roger Stone always plays to win. He plays hard, and he'll do anything to win, and that's why
he's a
he should
bad
be
guy
worried right now, and
yeah,
so should the president.
He's immoral. All right. Thank you so much.